Welcome into Rick Corey Sports Special. It's unique to have Kirk Fridrich with us on a Friday, but I had a problem yesterday that I had to take care of elsewhere, and Kirk was nice enough to say, okay, we'll talk about that big win over Yukon on Friday and the day of the big Broken Arrow game. So welcome in. Now, I want to first of all go back to that game against Yukon because when you say 59-30, Coach, it sounds a little misleading. That was a pretty feisty football game, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think Yukon has a good plan. They're coached well, and they do a really nice job. I think their receivers are really good. The Lucian kid, number 14, I mean, he's just a warrior. I mean, he's a two-way guy that can carry the football that most people don't want to tackle. And he also plays Mike linebacker, makes a lot of plays, and he's a lot to handle and we're missing a couple of guys. I know having Tucker Cook out of the game, when you've got your leading tackler out, that makes it really hard, and a couple other guys. But I thought, once our defense settled in, I thought we made enough plays to there for a while. I thought we were going to trade scores, and but defense settled in and created some turnovers, and I thought. DJ Strother played really well. He was, had lots of tackles, had some fumble recoveries, and was part of some of those adjustments that we need to make defensively. And then offensively, you could talk about all the big plays guys made, but it was the offensive line. I mean, you had 380 yards rushing, and I mean that's a big night. And so the offensive line was kind of our players of the game. But obviously Tay had another really good night. It was good to see Jordan Shelling bust away on a big run, and lots of guys making plays, and overall offensively it was a really good night.
Yeah, you almost don't know where to start because there's so many superlatives when it comes to offense. A touchdown on every possession the first three quarters, the rushing that you mentioned. I mean, that was spectacular. But I did want to go back to defense first because, as you said, you made enough plays, and that's what really mattered. And by the way, for them to match scores, it would have been a long, long night. I did notice DJ, but also Logan Haney. I thought Logan Haney really showed up and played awfully well. Anybody else jump off the page?
Yeah, Logan played well. Actually, we were really close to. We were, kind of going back and forth on who we thought, maybe played the best between DJ and Logan. So when you have two linebackers that are playing that well, but Logan's been a guy that's come on a little bit late, this season, and he's so, becoming so dependable when you put him in the game. He's almost like having a starter out there, and he probably could be starting, just about any game, and plays really well. Really a guy that has a lot of game experience, and I've known Logan for a long time. He's very instinctual and in just kind of understanding what an offense is trying to do. And a little undersized, but he plays big, and excited about how Logan played. I thought he did a really nice job in the linebacking core there, along with DJ.
Yeah, those wrestlers, they do that, don't they? They
Yeah.
just come along and they are, and it does take them a little bit sometimes to get rolling, but I've seen that kind of thing before. And you flip it over to offense. I'm glad you mentioned the offensive line because we did have one of the offensive linemen as our player of the game too on our broadcast. But you can't overlook what Tay Perry did with the 165 on 9 carries in the first half, and then on Schelling's run, I got to ask, he goes 89 yards, and I know there's got a lot of people who probably didn't think that was probably going to ever happen. He's got deceptive speed, but how much ribbing did he get for going 89 to 90 from all the guys? Because he's not known as the fast one, if you will.
No, and honestly, he hasn't played that fast this year. He had some of that last year, and it kind of went through a knee injury, and been playing both ways, and to see him back healthy and getting that speed up, and as you know, Rick, we've got a lot of our guys that wear GPS, and I think he clocked 20 miles an hour on that one. So he is getting out there running, but there's no doubt everybody was excited to see he had that speed again.
I would imagine he took a little. That's kind of fun between the two of those guys. Now let's move our attention to Broken Arrow because when it comes to, and I've mentioned this to other coaches, there was a time when the Union and Jinx was the rivalry, but Union and Broken Arrow always has been too. That huge long win streak for Union. There have been pranks between the kids during the week. We know all that stuff. Is this? I don't think it is personally, but is the rivalry diminished any because there are so many other rivalries now?
You know, it could be, I don't know. I mean, our kids enjoy playing Broken Arrow, and we know that it's a big rival game for them. And I'm sure we both have had a really good week of practice, and the energy has been good. And for us, it's very similar to some of the other ones in the Tulsa area. I think so many of these kids are playing some 7-on-7 and doing some different things where mixing and matching on a couple of teams are around each other quite a bit. They may be going to church together, those things. And so obviously social media has made kids know each other a little bit more, better or worse, when it comes to rival games, how social media gets. But I think that it being a district game, that being played this late in the season, probably means even a little bit more when we go to it on a Friday.
I would think so. And, to me personally too, having the game where it is, because and I remember so many years it was first four games, right? And so having it where it is as a district game to me also helps because there was time when you'd be playing teams at this time of year that just, you knew you were better than, that you knew it on paper, your kids knew it, you guys knew it, you had to always overcome that. I think having somewhat of a rivalry game late can keep you sharp. Does that seem right to you?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's definitely one of those that you better be ready to play. We have figured out over the last few years that especially when we've gone now to the 6A split, and that everyone is going to play Union. They're going to play their best when they play us, and you can see a team on film and you're like, that guy's not quite as fast. Well, he's going to have his breakout game against us. So we know that teams are going to play us extremely tough. Broken Arrow's not the case in that, with like you said, it being a rival, they're always going to play good against us. And so, but with it being late in the season, as you said, there's a little bit more to it. Both teams have kind of have an identity to kind of know who they are.
Yeah.
We have played in the playoffs, and obviously those mean the most,
Mhm.
but there's a lot riding on this district game.
Yeah, and that's the thing. You're also trying to keep your district points alive. You're trying to do all the things that you need to, and you're going to have to try to do it against a couple of really talented players. Let's start with the running back, Octavian Roberson. Describe him.
He's a guy that has such great speed, and he's very patient. Their offensive line is coached really well, and he's very patient, staying behind some of those runs, and he finds that crease, and then he just seems like he runs through a small gap. I mean, there's not much there, and he gets through it, and then the speed that he has is excellent. You're not going to have an opportunity to catch him. He broke one on us last year, and was a big time play just on an inside run. And so just being very patient for us defensively, make sure we're in the right gaps to try to help him. And they've played a couple other kids lately that I think have been really good as well. A young freshman that's going to be a good tailback. They've got another guy that goes in there. So they definitely have an ability to be fresh in the running back position.
Yeah, Roberson's played some defense too, and I know they've rested him a little bit there. If you were would you describe him as a slasher? Would you describe him as a speed guy? What do you think?
He's a tall kid, so he's a little bit lanky, so it looks different. Most running backs are going to be these stocky, maybe shorter, compact kids that are quick, and he's not that way. Maybe even more of an Eric Dickerson kind of a feel to it. So got some strength to what he does, but again, it's the he doesn't get a play here, doesn't get a play here, and all of a sudden he's got a 60-yarder on you. I mean,
Yeah.
those are the kinds of things that you worry about with him.
And what about at quarterback Satimba?
Yeah, Jeremiah, we know him. He's a product. He's come from our program, grew up in our program, and really good quarterback for us. A lot of our kids will be familiar with him. They're friends with him, coming from Union, and he's done a really nice job. I think that he's got his foot speed and just does a good job keeping the play alive. He's definitely a guy that can run the football. Throws a really good deep ball. He's executing their offense really well.
Anybody else on offense whose names pop out at you?
Well, the two receivers that they have are really good. There's uh, the Wade kid is a prospect. He's probably going to be I'm not real sure, where all the stars are, but I know he's going to be an offer kid that's going to have, quite a bit of choices for college. They've got a young guy that's come along really well on the other side. So two two long receivers that are catching a lot of balls for them, and kind of feels like their offense, with the running attack, they're starting to get some of their passing game going.
You mentioned to begin with, you got a couple of guys back, and it's that time of year. Everybody's got somebody out or somebody's, a little bit half speed or whatever. Health wise, how do you feel?
We feel good. It's been the fall break was good for us, and we're still, like you said, everybody's banged up. But we feel good coming into this football game. Feel like that we've had a couple of wins under our belt and been positive, and we know that this ought to be a really close game. I got up this morning expecting this is going to be one of those tight ones, going to be decided down the end, and we look forward to it.
Hey, you know what? We got some fall weather. The playoffs aren't far away. I mean, it feels like it's time for Oklahoma high school football, doesn't it?
Without a doubt. I told somebody yesterday, Rick, not to make this longer, but you know how you have those smells or those sounds that bring your mind back to things. And yesterday, hearing basketball sneakers squeaking on the court, I instantly, when I heard those guys practicing, I was like, "This is the time of year football's fun," because when you hear those guys practicing in there, it's getting late in the season for football, and it's getting really close to playoff time.
I always felt that way when I'm walking into Union or Tulsa to broadcast a game and I step on a leaf and it crunches.
There you go.
I know
Yeah.
we are close, so I know exactly what you mean. All right, well let's keep everybody safe. We should have great weather, and I'll see you out there tonight.
All right. Thank you very much.